Carlos, a 12-year-old boy, was in perfect condition when he left for the school camp. After spending 4 days at the school camp, Carlos returned back to home with a high fever of 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Carlos's parents believed that Carlos had a bad flu. As a result, they gave him a very simple medicine and they tried to keep him hydrated. In spite of getting treatment at home, Carlos's health did not improve. In fact, he wasn't even able to go to the bathroom by himself. It was then that Carlos's parents realized that something was strange. Thus, they took him to a hospital. At the hospital, Carlos was diagnosed with bilateral pneumonia. After receiving the medication from the doctor, Carlos was discharged from the hospital because the doctors believed that once the antibiotics will kick in, Carlos's health will get better. However, the antibiotics never kicked in. Shortly, Carlos started to hallucinate and lose his oxygen levels. Therefore, he was immediately taken to a children's hospital and was admitted into the ICU. Carlos's condition was so bad that doctors were forced to put Carlos in a coma. All the efforts went in vain when Carlos's lungs failed. Moreover, as time passed on, other organs started to fail as well. It was then that doctors diagnosed that Carlos was infected with MRSA, an antimicrobial resistance disease. Sadly, after battling for 2 weeks against MRSA, Carlos finally passed away. You see, Carlos was a victim of a new invisible pandemic. This invisible pandemic is much worse than the COVID-19 pandemic. Under this new pandemic, we have lost the ability to treat some bacterial infections. This is alarming because we as humans were able to increase our lifespans from 47 years to 73 years by being able to treat bacterial infections with antibiotics. But what are antibiotics? Well, an antibiotic is a substance that kills or prevents the growth of a bacterium. Now that you have some context, let's talk about what is happening. There are two factors that are responsible for this pandemic. The first factor is the evolution of the bacteria. Some bacteria have evolved in a way that makes them resistant to our current antibiotics. To put it simply, some bacteria are stronger than their previous generations. Therefore, our current antibiotics have failed to battle against them. The second factor which is responsible for the pandemic is the decrease in the development of new antibiotics. Pharmaceutical companies around the world are not investing in new antibiotics. Moreover, some antibiotics that are being developed are somewhat similar to the current antibiotics that we have. As a result, these new antibiotics can't battle antimicrobial resistant diseases. Now that we know what is happening, let's talk about why is it happening. The number one reason why bacteria are becoming resistant to antibiotics is the overuse and misuse of antibiotics. Simply, whenever we consume an antibiotic, it kills all the bacteria. However, some bacteria which are resistant to antibiotics survive, multiply, and spread all over the body. Moreover, they spread their resistance among other bacteria. As a result, this resistance spreads all over the body. Furthermore, these antimicrobial resistant microbes can spread from person to person just like the coronavirus. In conclusion, overuse and misuse of antibiotics among a few people can affect a whole community, and that community can and will spread the antimicrobial resistant microbes all over the world. As mentioned before, pharmaceutical companies are now developing new antibiotics. The reason behind it is that the markets for these new, more powerful antibiotics is small. Therefore, companies are not willing to invest in these new antibiotics unless they get a good return on their investment. Now that we know why everything is happening, let's talk about the potential solutions to these problems. Governments and pharmaceutical companies around the world must collaborate with each other to develop new, more powerful antibiotics. If this is not done, then we might go back into the dark ages where a simple wound can result in death. Moreover, our healthcare costs will increase significantly, and our doctors won't be able to perform the normal procedures they do while treating a patient. The best solution is to increase public's knowledge on this matter and create a system that can monitor the use of antibiotics. You might think that developing new antibiotics is the right solution, but you must remember that these new, more powerful antibiotics often have other, worse side effects on the patient. Therefore, if we want to stop another pandemic from taking place, then please do your part. Share this video around the world and increase public's knowledge on this matter. I hope this was an eye-opening video for you. If you enjoyed this video, then you might need to watch this video where I explain why your penises are getting smaller.